Hi, my name is Steve Glickman and I teach economic diplomacy and trade promotion in the spring. So my course is really focused on the practicalities of the relationship between governments and business and the new globalized economy. The course is really about the tools and resources that government provides to businesses that are seeking to engage in international trade, the challenges those businesses face in markets all over the world, and the importance of that relationship to the future of U.S. diplomacy. So it's really about globalization and the nuts and bolts of how to operate in a globalized world. So I think this course is critical to students in all three tracks in the master's program in the School of Foreign Service. For international business students, I think that the realities of the global business environment and the increasing role that government has to play vis-a-vis companies all over the world is an important tool in the toolkit of someone engaged in international business. I think for students engaged in the international politics and security track, the nature of diplomacy has changed, and economic diplomacy is slowly rising to be a top-tier issue for diplomats all over the world as U.S. economic power and its soft power becomes an increasingly important part of the U.S. agenda. And for international development students, I think that the notions around development are changing from one that's just between governments and businesses in foreign countries to the role that the U.S. private sector needs to play in advancing development goals all over the world. So I think every students from throughout the master's program can really find a lot of value from what the course is trying to get across. So currently I run a small nonprofit advocacy group. We focus on economic development in the U.S. But just previous to this job, I was involved in the Obama administration, basically from the beginning. I worked at the White House, most recently at the National Security Council and the National Economic Council, focused on international trade and manufacturing and exports. Before that, I worked at the Commerce Department and was the Chief of Staff for the U.S. and Foreign Commercial Service, managed commercial operations for the U.S. government entities all over the world. And in my background before that, I was a federal prosecutor. I worked in Congress for a couple members of Congress and for a committee responsible for oversight. So I've really had a breadth of different experience across the legislative front, across the executive branch in politics and in policy. But most importantly, I teach this course, which I'm really excited about and really excited to meet the new students in the spring. So this course is really meant to be a practical one. The class itself will be divided up into a mix of a lecture, hopefully a lot of class conversation, and then we'll have really interesting guest speakers that will come from all over the city who are experts in their space to come spend their time with us. In terms of assignments, it's pretty cut and dry. We'll have a few short memos and one longer memos. They'll be very practical, professional memos focused around the topics we'll be covering in the class. And of course, oral participation, class participation will be a big part of how everyone's evaluated, but also the most fun part of the course. So I think it's a really modest workload for the graduate students in this program.